what is case study methods, the limitations of case study. So what is a case study? Well, let's define a couple of words first. First, the word case. What's a case? It could be an event, a problem, a process, an activity, a program, a single person, or several people. A case could be any one of these things. A lot of times with case studies, you'll read about a case study being conducted within a bounded system. The bounded system is the boundaries of the case. These boundaries are usually either time and or space. So the case happening within a certain amount of time or within a geographical location. That's the boundaries of that case. Another thing that characterizes case study is the multiple sources of data that are used in case studies. Case studies don't just rely on just interviews or maybe also observations. Usually case studies include almost every kind of qualitative data, like interviews, observations, documents, artifacts, and so on. There's multiple types of data are included for case studies because with case studies, researchers are looking to provide a very in-depth understanding of that case. There are typically three types of case studies. Single instrumental case study. This is when the researcher focuses first on an issue or a concern and then selects a bounded case to illustrate that issue or concern. Next is collective or multiple case study. This is similar to the single instrumental case study because the researcher first focuses on an issue or concern. The difference between the two, single instrumental or collective multiple, is that in collective multiple, the researcher then selects several bounded cases to illustrate that issue or concern. Single instrumental case study is just one case. Collective multiple is several cases. So multiple bounded cases are chosen in order to show various perspectives about that issue or concern. The next is intrinsic case study. In contrast to the single and collective multiple case studies, the intrinsic case study does not first focus on an issue or concern and then go find a case or cases to illustrate that issue. Instead, intrinsic case study is about a case itself. This is the researchers studying a case that's unique or unusual and then study it. Okay, let's talk about case study methods. First step, determine if a case study will answer your research question, which is probably something about gaining an in-depth understanding of a case or cases within clearly identified bounded system, which is the boundaries of the case, and again is usually time or space. Next step, if a case study would help you to answer your research question, researchers should identify the case or cases and which of the three types of case studies best fit the interest of the researcher and answering their research questions. After collecting data, the researcher analyzes the data. If the case study was a single instrumental case study, then the researcher will analyze all the forms of data and create themes from the data. This is called the analysis of themes. If the case study was a collective multiple case study, the researcher will analyze all of the forms of data and create themes found in each case, which is called a within-case analysis. Then the researcher will conduct a cross-case analysis. This is when the researcher sees what themes are common between all of the cases. Finally, the researcher will make assertions, which means an interpretation of what the meaning of the data regarding the case. This also includes making statements about the lessons learned from the case, which is what should be learned from the meaning of the data of that case study. Let's talk about the limitations of case studies. First, it can be hard to determine the case, whether to find an issue cause first and then find a case to illustrate it, or to just study a case for itself. It can also be challenging to determine whether to study one or multiple cases. It can also be challenging to define the boundaries of the case. And by studying more than one case, that means that the researcher will probably go into less depth for each case because they're trying to study multiple cases.